The plasma cannon's charging whine filled the throne room as Queen Zephyra's clawed finger hovered over the trigger. Before her stood Captain Sarah Chen, hands raised but eyes steady, while behind the human a small figure trembled, a Veltar child with silver scales dulled by malnutrition. "You dare bring contamination into my sacred hall?" Zephyra's voice resonated through the crystalline chamber, each word carrying the weight of 10,000 years of Veltar supremacy. Humans are disease carriers, destroyers of worlds. Chen's voice remained level despite the weapon aimed at her chest. "Your Majesty, this child needs medical attention." Our ship responded to a distress signal. The Queen's golden eyes narrowed. Every report from the outer colony spoke of human brutality. World stripped bare, populations enslaved, children stolen for unspeakable experiments. The Galactic Council's warnings echoed in her mind. Humans were apex predators who showed no mercy to the weak. "Release the youngling, and perhaps I will grant you a swift death," Zephyra commanded. Chen's hand moved slowly to her belt. The royal guards raised their weapons in unison, energy crackling through the air. But instead of a weapon, Chen withdrew a small medical scanner, its blue light casting gentle patterns across the child's fevered face. "She has crimson fever," Chen said quietly. "Without treatment, she'll die within hours." The Queen's throne creaked as she leaned forward. Crimson fever was a death sentence, a plague that had decimated entire Veltar colonies. No cure existed in their medical databases, yet this human spoke as if death were merely an inconvenience. "Impossible. Our greatest scientists have failed to—" "Humans developed an immunity centuries ago," Chen interrupted. "Our blood contains antibodies. One transfusion could save her." Zephyra's weapon trembled. Human blood was considered toxic by every civilized species. The very suggestion bordered on blasphemy, yet the child's breathing grew more labored with each passing moment.
"You lie. Humans are incapable of—"
The child collapsed. Chen lunged forward, catching the small form before she hit the polished floor. The royal guards shouted warnings, but their queen raised a hand, frozen by something she couldn't name. The human cradled the dying child with impossible gentleness, her calloused hands supporting the delicate head with practiced care. Chen's scanner beeped frantically as the child's vital signs plummeted. "Please," Chen whispered, not to the queen but to the small face in her arms. "Stay with me." Zephyra watched, transfixed. Every report had described humans as monsters who devoured their young, who felt no compassion for weakness. Yet this creature held a dying alien child as if it were her own offspring. The medical scanner flatlined. Chen's shoulders sagged, her head bowing over the still form. For a moment, the throne room fell silent except for the soft hum of the palace's energy systems. Then Chen looked up, tears streaming down her face, and Zephyra saw something that shattered every belief she held about humanity. Grief. Pure, devastating grief for a child she'd never met. "She was someone's daughter," Shen said, her voice breaking. "She had a name. She mattered." The Queen's weapon lowered without conscious thought. In 10 millennia of rule, she had witnessed the deaths of millions. It was the price of power, the burden of leadership. Yet this human mourned a single alien child with an intensity that made Zephyra's chest ache. "What? What was her name?" the Queen found herself asking. "Lyra," Chen replied, gently closing the child's eyes. "She told me on the ship. She wanted to see the crystal gardens her grandmother had described." The crystal gardens. Zephyra remembered racing through them as a youngling, her own grandmother's laughter echoing off the prismatic walls. How many generations had found joy in those same corridors? Chen stood slowly, still holding the child's body. May I carry her to her family?" "They're waiting in the refugee camp." "Refugee camp?" Zephyra's voice was barely a whisper. "The survivors from the Kepler colony attack. 73 Veltar, mostly children and elderly. Our medical team is treating the wounded." The Queen's mind reeled. No reports had mentioned human rescue operations. The colonial governors had assured her that all survivors were safely evacuated to Veltar facilities. 73 survivors? Governor Thex reported total annihilation. Chen's expression darkened. "Governor Thex fled when the pirates attacked. Left them to die. We found them hiding in the mining tunnels, starving." The plasma cannon clattered to the floor as Zephyra's hands began to shake. Pirates. Not humans. The attack on Kepler colony had been piracy, and humans had rescued the survivors while her own governor abandoned them. "Show me," the Queen commanded, her voice hollow. Chen nodded, still cradling the child's body. "Follow me, Your Majesty, but prepare yourself." What you'll see might change everything you believe about who the real monsters are. As they walked toward the palace entrance, Zafira couldn't shake the image of human tears falling on Veltar scales, or the way Chen had spoken the child's name with such reverence. Perhaps the galaxy's greatest threat wasn't humanity's capacity for violence. Perhaps it was her own willingness to believe lies. The transport bay bustled with activity as Chen led Queen Zafira through rows of medical stations. Human medics worked alongside Veltar refugees, their movements efficient but gentle. Children with bandaged limbs played quiet games while adults received treatment for malnutrition and radiation exposure. Zafira's royal guard flanked her, their weapons lowered but ready. Yet none of the humans showed aggression. Instead, they stepped aside respectfully, some offering nervous bows before returning to their patients. "Where did you find them?" Zafira asked, watching a human doctor examine an elderly Veltar's injured wing. "In the collapsed mine shaft 7 kilometers from the main colony," Chen replied, still carrying Lyra's body. They'd been trapped for 6 days with minimal food and water. The children were starting to show signs of severe dehydration. An older Veltar approached them, his scales bearing the distinctive markings of a colony administrator. He bowed deeply to the Queen before speaking. "Your Majesty, I am Elder Korath, former communications chief of Kepler Colony. I must report Governor Thex's abandonment of his duties during the pirate attack." Zafira's jaw clenched. "Explain." When the raider ships arrived, Thex ordered all defense forces to escort him to the evacuation shuttles. He left while civilians were still trapped in the emergency shelters. The humans found us 3 days later. Chen gestured toward a nearby medical station where a young Veltar girl, perhaps 8 years old, sat having her arm treated. "That's Nira. She guided us through the tunnels to find the others." "Brave kid," the Queen approached the child, who looked up with wide, curious eyes. "You are not afraid of the humans, youngling?" Nira shook her head solemnly. "They gave us food. Captain Chen carried me when my leg hurt. She told me stories about Earth while we walked." "Earth stories?" Zafira glanced at Chen, who seemed embarrassed. "She asked about families on my world," Chen explained. I told her about my daughter. She's about the same age. The weight of revelation pressed against Zephyr's chest. "You have offspring?" "Emily. She's 7, lives with her mother on New Geneva." Chen's voice softened. "When I saw these children trapped, hungry, scared, I couldn't help but think of her." Elder Korath stepped forward again. "Your Majesty, there is more you must know. The pirates who attacked us were not random raiders. They wore Veltar military insignia, false ones but accurate enough to fool our defense systems." The Queen's blood chilled. Impossible. "Our military would never—" "The human ship recordings prove it," Korath continued. "Captain Chen's crew documented everything. The pirates used Veltar challenge codes to disable our orbital defenses before attacking. Chen activated a holographic display showing the attack footage." Zafira watched in horrified silence as ships bearing her own empire's markings bombarded civilian structures while genuine Veltar forces fled. "We traced the pirates' trajectory after the attack," Chen said quietly. "They returned to the Nexus station in neutral space. Intelligence suggests Governor Thex arranged the raid to cover massive embezzlement from the colony's mineral exports." The betrayal cut deeper than any enemy blade. Zafira had trusted Thex for decades, believing his reports about human aggression while he profited from orchestrated attacks on her own people. "The evidence package is in your ship's computer," Chen added. "Financial records, communication logs, everything." Zafira stared at the young Veltar girl still receiving treatment, remembering Lyra's lifeless form in Chen's arms. How many children had died because of lies? How many had she failed to protect while chasing phantom enemies? "Captain Chen," the Queen said slowly, "why save them? Your people and mine have been enemies for generations." Chen looked down at Lyra's peaceful face. "Because they're children. Because they were scared and alone. Because it was the right thing to do." She paused. "My species has done terrible things, Your Majesty. We've made mistakes that cost lives. But we've also learned that survival means protecting those who can't protect themselves." The Queen's chief advisor, General Vextor, stepped forward with obvious discomfort. "Your Majesty, surely these humans have ulterior motives. No species acts from pure altruism." Chen's laugh held no humor. "General, we've spent the last 4 days treating radiation poisoning, performing emergency surgery, and watching children die in our arms. If this was some elaborate scheme, it's a pretty terrible one." Dr. Amanda Rodriguez, the human medical officer, approached carrying a data tablet. "Captain, We've finished the medical evaluations. 17 patients need extended treatment, including 3 who require organ transplants. Our ship can handle the procedures, but what? Zafira asked. Rodriguez hesitated. Your Majesty, our ship's surgical bays were designed for human physiology. We'll need to jury-rig everything for Velstar anatomy. It's risky. Then take them to a proper Veltar medical facility, General Vector suggested. Elder Korath shook his head sadly. The nearest Veltar hospital is 8 days away. These patients won't survive the journey. The Queen looked between the human doctor's determined face and her own advisor's suspicion. Everything she'd been taught said humans were deceptive, dangerous, untrustworthy, yet they offered to risk their own equipment and safety for alien children. Dr. Rodriguez, Zafira said carefully, what do you need to perform these surgeries successfully? Veltar medical databases for anatomy reference, and someone familiar with your biology to assist. Beyond that, we'll adapt. General Vexthor stepped closer to his queen. This could be an attempt to steal our medical secrets. Chen's expression hardened. General, with respect, we're trying to save lives here. If you're worried about medical secrets, feel free to supervise every procedure. The challenge hung in the air like a blade. Zafira realized this was the moment that would define her reign. Trust the enemies she'd been taught to fear, or watch children die to protect state secrets. She thought of Lyra's name, spoken with such reverence by human lips. Dr. Rodriguez, the Queen commanded, you have full access to our medical databases. General Vexthor will assign our best surgeons to assist you. The relief on human faces was unmistakable. Not the satisfaction of a successful deception, but genuine gratitude for the chance to heal. As medical teams began coordinating the complex surgeries, Zafira realized that everything she believed about humanity was crumbling, and she wasn't sure what would rise from the ruins. The surgery bay hummed with quiet efficiency as Queen Zafira observed through the observation window. Below, Dr. Rodriguez worked alongside Veltar surgeon healer Merrick's to repair damaged organs in a young refugee's chest cavity. The human's hands moved with practiced precision, following Myrix's guidance on Veltar anatomy while adapting human surgical techniques. Remarkable, healer Myrix's voice filtered through the comm system. Dr. Rodriguez, your neural bypass technique is far more advanced than our current methods. The patient's recovery time will be significantly reduced. Rodriguez paused her work briefly. We developed it for combat trauma. Too many soldiers were dying from nerve damage. Sometimes necessity drives innovation. General Vexthor stood beside the Queen, his stance rigid with suspicion. They're learning our anatomy, Your Majesty. This could compromise our defenses. And we're learning theirs, Zafira replied quietly. Knowledge flows both ways, General. Captain Chen entered the observation deck, exhaustion evident in her movements. She'd been coordinating refugee care for 18 hours straight, barely pausing for food or rest. How many surgeries remain? The Queen asked. This is the last critical one. Dr. Martinez is handling 2 more procedures in Bay 2, and Dr. Kim is finishing reconstructive work on a young girl's shattered wing bones. Chen rubbed her eyes. All patients should be stable within the next 4 hours. Zafira studied Chen's profile. When did you last sleep, Captain? Sleep is overrated. Chen managed a weak smile. Besides, I've seen what happens when humans abandon their posts. I won't be like Governor Thex. The comparison hit like a physical blow. Zafira's own officer had fled while these supposedly savage humans worked themselves to exhaustion saving alien children. Captain, the Queen said carefully, I've reviewed the evidence against Governor Thex. The charges are extensive. Chen's expression hardened. He left 73 people to die for profit. In human courts, that would warrant life imprisonment or execution. And in Veltar courts, it warrants something worse, Zafira replied grimly. Through the observation window, they watched Dr. Rodriguez successfully complete the organ repair. The patient's vital signs stabilized, bringing audible sighs of relief from both species' medical teams. Dr. Rodriguez, healer Merrick said over the comm, would you be willing to share your neural bypass methodology with our medical academy? This technique could save thousands of lives. Rodriguez looked up toward the observation deck seeking permission. Chen nodded without hesitation. Of course, healer. Medical knowledge should be shared. Send me your academy's protocols, and I'll prepare a comprehensive training package. General Vexthor's jaw tightened. They're infiltrating our educational systems now. No, Zafira said firmly. They're teaching us to save our own people. There's a difference. Her personal communicator chimed with an urgent message. The Queen's expression darkened as she read the contents. What is it? Chen asked. Governor Thex's ship has been intercepted at the border. He was carrying stolen mineral shipments worth millions of credits, along with detailed intelligence on Veltar defensive positions. Zephyra's claws extended involuntarily, intelligence he was selling to actual pirate fleets. Chen whistled low. He wasn't just stealing money, he was selling out your entire frontier defense network. The implications crashed over Zephyra like a tidal wave. Every colonial raid attributed to human aggression, every refugee crisis blamed on human expansion. How many had been orchestrated by her own corrupt officials? Captain, the Queen said slowly, I need to ask something difficult. How many similar situations have your people encountered? Colonies attacked by pirates using false military identifications? Chen was quiet for a long moment. More than we've reported to the Galactic Council. We assumed you knew about the corruption and were covering it up to avoid political embarrassment. And we assumed you were orchestrating the attacks as part of human expansion. Zephyra closed her eyes. We've been fighting shadows while the real enemy operated within our own ranks. Rodriguez's voice interrupted their conversation. Surgery complete. Patient is stable and responding well. He should make a full recovery. Relief flooded the observation deck. In the surgical bay below, human and Veltar medical personnel exchanged congratulatory gestures that transcended species barriers. Your Majesty, Chen said quietly, there's something else. Our intelligence division has been tracking pirate activities throughout this sector. If you're willing to share information, we might be able to identify other corrupt officials before they cause more damage. General Vexthor stepped forward aggressively. Absolutely not. We will not share classified intelligence with people who just saved 17 Veltar lives? Zephyra's voice cut like ice. General, your concerns are noted. And dismissed. The general's face flushed, but he stepped back, properly chastened. Chen activated her holographic display again, showing a star map dotted with incident markers. These red dots represent verified pirate attacks over the past 2 years. Yellow dots are disappearances or distress calls we couldn't investigate. Notice the patterns? Zephyra studied the display, her strategic mind automatically analyzing the data. They're avoiding systems with joint patrol routes. And concentrating on colonies with single-species populations. Exactly. The pirates know which systems have minimal backup response. They're getting inside information. The Queen felt sick. How many of her people had died while she pointed weapons at their potential saviors? Captain Chen, Zephyra said formally, I propose a joint task force to investigate colonial security breaches and eliminate pirate operations. Will humanity consider such an alliance? Chen smiled. The first genuine smile Zephyra had seen from her. Your Majesty, I think Earth Command would be very interested in that conversation. In the surgical bay below, the last patient was wheeled to recovery. Human and Veltar medical teams began cleaning equipment together, their earlier tensions replaced by professional camaraderie. Your Majesty, Dr. Rodriguez called over the comm, all patients are stable. They'll need follow-up care, but the immediate danger is past. Zephyra nodded, then turned to Chen. Captain, I have a confession. For 10,000 years I have ruled, believing that strength came from dominance over others. Today you've shown me that true strength comes from protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Chen's expression grew thoughtful. Your Majesty, my daughter Emily once asked me what courage really meant. I told her it wasn't about not being scared. It was about doing the right thing even when you are scared. The Queen looked down at the medical bay where 2 species worked side by side, healing instead of harming. For the first time in centuries, Queen Zephyra felt hope, and she was terrified it might be too late to matter. The war room aboard the human vessel Endeavour buzzed with controlled activity as joint intelligence teams analyzed data streams from across 3 sectors. Queen Zephyra stood before a massive holographic display showing pirate attack patterns, her royal composure masking the growing horror of discovery. 17 colonial governors, Captain Chen said grimly, highlighting corrupted officials across the star map, all following the same pattern: embezzle mineral exports, arrange pirate attacks to cover theft, blame human aggression for the chaos. Admiral Sarah Blackwood, Chen's superior officer, who had arrived via emergency transit, stepped forward. Your Majesty, Earth Command has authorized full disclosure of our intelligence networks. This conspiracy threatens both our species' civilian populations. Zephyra studied the data, her claws unconsciously extending with each revelation. Admiral, how long has Earth been aware of these patterns? 18 months. We've been building cases against the pirate syndicates, but without access to Veltar internal communications, we couldn't prove governmental corruption. Blackwood paused. We assumed you were already investigating internally. General Vextor, who had remained notably quiet since his earlier rebuke, cleared his throat. Your Majesty, if I may suggest, this could still be human deception. These displays could be fabricated. Chen's patience finally snapped. General, do you want us to fabricate 73 living refugees too? Maybe we invented Lyra's death to manipulate your emotions? The sharp words hung in the air like a challenge. Zafira watched her general's face cycle through anger, doubt, and finally resignation. I know, Captain. I apologize, old prejudices die hard. They do, Chen agreed, her tone softening. But they do die, General. If we let them. Lieutenant Commander Maria Santos, Chen's intelligence officer, activated a new display showing financial transfers. Your Majesty, we've traced payment flows from the pirate syndicates. The corruption network extends beyond colonial governors. It includes supply depot commanders, patrol route schedulers, even some members of your early warning systems. Zephyra felt the foundation of her empire cracking beneath her feet. How extensive! At least 40 high-level officials across 7 sectors. The conspiracy has been operating for nearly 5 years. Santos hesitated. Your Majesty, they've been planning something bigger than random raids. The hologram shifted to show a new pattern, coordinated fleet movements converging on the Veltar capital sector. Admiral Blackwood's expression turned grim. This looks like preparation for a major assault. Not random piracy, organized military action. When? Zafira demanded. Based on fleet positioning and supply staging, Santos calculated rapidly, approximately 6 days. The room fell silent except for the hum of computers processing data. 6 days to prevent a coordinated attack on the heart of the Veltar Empire, orchestrated by her own people. Admiral, the Queen said formally, I request immediate military assistance from Earth Command. Blackwood nodded without hesitation. You have it. But, Your Majesty, we need to coordinate defenses without alerting the conspirators. They likely have contacts within your Royal Guard and Fleet Command. Zafira's blood chilled further. If the corruption reached into her personal security, nowhere was safe. Captain Chen, the Queen decided, I'm transferring my flag to this vessel. General Vexor will coordinate Veltar fleet movements from here while we identify loyal officers. Your Majesty, Vexor protested, the Royal Council will never approve. The Royal Council will approve what I tell them to approve, Zafira snapped, unless you prefer explaining to them why half our colonial governors are traitors. Chen stepped forward diplomatically. Your Majesty, the Endeavor is honored to host your flag, but we should establish secure communications with your loyal forces immediately. Agreed. Zafira activated her personal communicator, using codes known only to her most trusted admirals. Admiral Corex, this is your Queen. I need you to maintain radio silence and prepare for emergency fleet maneuvers. Full details will follow through secure channels. The reply came quickly. Your Majesty acknowledged. Be aware, Admiral Thrix has been asking pointed questions about your whereabouts. He seems agitated. Zafira and Chen exchanged glances. Admiral Thrix commanded the home fleet, the primary defense for the Veltar capital. Santos, Chen ordered, run a financial analysis on Admiral Thrix. Priority 1. While the intelligence officer worked, Dr. Rodriguez entered the war room carrying a data pad. Your Majesty, the refugee medical evaluations revealed something interesting. Several patients show signs of exposure to Thanix. 7 gas a chemical weapon banned by Galactic Treaty. Admiral Blackwood straightened. Thanix? 7 causes organ failure within days of exposure. It's been illegal for decades. The pirates used it during the Kepler colony attack, Rodriguez continued. But here's the concerning part, Thanix. 7 can only be manufactured in highly specialized military facilities. The pirates shouldn't have access to it. The implications were staggering. Not only were Veltar officials cooperating with pirates, but they were providing them with military-grade chemical weapons. Santos, Chen called. Cross-reference Thanix. 7 production facilities with the financial networks you've been tracking. Data flowed across the holographic display, drawing connections between chemical weapons plants, corrupt officials, and pirate supply chains. Holy hell, Santos whispered. Your Majesty, 3 Veltar chemical weapons facilities have been reporting routine disposal of Thanix 7 stockpiles. But the disposal records are falsified. The chemicals are being sold to the pirate syndicates. Queen Zephyra stared at the evidence of her empire's corruption with growing rage. Her people were being murdered with their own weapons, sold by their own officials, while she blamed innocent humans for the carnage. "Admiral Blackwood," she said with deadly calm, "I want every pirate ship in this sector destroyed. I want every corrupt official arrested. And I want it done before they can harm one more child." Blackwood smiled grimly. "Your Majesty, Earth Command has 3 battle groups within jumping distance." "Say the word." General Vexthor stepped forward, his earlier suspicion replaced by military determination. "Your Majesty, if I may, the Veltar Home Guard includes many officers whose loyalty is beyond question. With your permission, I'll coordinate joint operations with the human fleet." Zephyr studied her general's face, seeing genuine commitment where earlier there had been doubt. "Permission granted, General." "Show these pirates what happens when they threaten our children." As human and Veltar officers began coordinating battle plans, Captain Chen approached the Queen privately. "Your Majesty, there's something else. Dr. Rodriguez asked me to give you this." Chen handed over a small holographic memory crystal. When activated, the crystal showed young Lyra speaking to Dr. Rodriguez during her final medical examination. "I'm not scared," the child's voice said clearly. "My grandmother told me that when good people from different worlds work together, beautiful things happen. Like the crystal gardens." The recording ended with Lyra smiling despite her obvious pain. Zephyra's eyes filled with tears as she thought of her own grandmother's words about the crystal gardens, places where different types of crystals grew together, each one more beautiful because of the others around it. "Captain," the Queen said quietly, "let's make sure Lyra's grandmother was right." As battle alarms began sounding throughout the ship, Queen Zephyr realized that she was about to fight alongside the species she had spent her life fearing, and for the first time in years she felt truly alive. The bridge of the Endeavor erupted in controlled chaos as proximity alarms screamed across multiple frequencies. Queen Zephyra stood beside Captain Chen at the command console, watching enemy signatures materialize on long-range sensors like digital harbingers of war. 47 ships, reported Lieutenant Santos. Mixed pirate vessels and... God damn it, those are Veltar Royal Navy cruisers. Admiral Blackwood's voice cut through the bridge chatter with military precision. "All human battle groups maintain defensive positions until Her Majesty identifies hostile targets. Do not, repeat, do not fire on any Veltar vessel without explicit authorization." Through the view screen, Zephyra watched her own warships approaching in attack formation, their hulls gleaming with royal insignia that now felt like mockery. She activated her personal command frequency, her voice carrying the authority of 10 millennia of rule. "All Veltar vessels, this is your queen. You will stand down immediately and await inspection for verification of loyalty." The response chilled her to the bone. "Negative, false queen," came Admiral Thrix's voice, distorted but unmistakable. "You have been declared unfit for rule due to collaboration with human terrorists. By order of the Emergency Colonial Council, you are to be arrested or eliminated." Emergency Colonial Council. Zephyra's claws extended involuntarily as the scope of betrayal became clear. The conspirators hadn't just stolen money. They had orchestrated a coup. "Santos," Chen commanded, "I need identification on every ship in that fleet. Highlight any vessels showing false transponder codes." The tactical display shifted, revealing the horrifying truth. Nearly half the ships bore fake identification, while genuine Royal Navy vessels had been fed false intelligence about human aggression. General Vexor activated his own communication array, his voice carrying desperate authority. "Royal Navy vessels, this is General Vexor of the Palace Guard. Admiral Thrix has been compromised. Do not follow illegal orders." Several ships immediately broke formation, their captains responding to the general's trusted voice. But 26 vessels continued their approach, weapons charging. "Your Majesty," Admiral Blackwood said quietly, "my fleet can handle the pirate vessels, but those Royal Navy ships are your people. Loyal soldiers following orders they believe are legitimate." The weight of decision pressed against Zephyra's chest like a physical force. Fire on her own navy and brand herself a traitor, or allow the coup to succeed and watch her empire fall to corruption. "Captain Chen," she said with forced calm, "can your ships disable Veltar vessels without destroying them?" "Ion cannons and electromagnetic pulse weapons," Chen confirmed. "We can knock out their systems without causing casualties, but, Your Majesty, that only works if they don't fire first." Through the communication array, Zephyra heard Admiral Thrix rallying his forces. "The false queen has poisoned human minds against our people. Destroy the terrorist ship and capture the traitor." The first volley of plasma fire lit space like deadly fireworks aimed directly at the Endeavor. Human point defense systems responded instantly, creating a light show of intercepted projectiles. All human vessels, Admiral Blackwood commanded, engage pirate targets only. Use non-lethal force against Veltar Royal Navy ships. Protect the Queen's ship at all costs. The battle erupted in earnest as human warships moved to intercept the mixed fleet. Zephyr watched in fascination and horror as Captain Chen's tactical team coordinated precision strikes that disabled weapon systems without breaching hulls. Targeting their power cores, Chen explained, her fingers dancing over tactical controls, takes them out of the fight without killing anyone. On the view screen, a Veltar cruiser went dark as electromagnetic pulses overloaded its systems. The ship drifted harmlessly, its crew alive, but helpless. Royal Navy vessel Triumph, Zephyr broadcast, on emergency frequencies, "This is your queen. Admiral Thrix has been compromised by pirate syndicates. Stand down and prepare to receive verification codes." A new voice responded, Captain Morix, whom Zephyr remembered commissioning personally. "Your Majesty? We were told you had been captured by human forces." "I am freely allied with human forces to prevent a conspiracy against our empire," the Queen replied firmly. "Captain, I am transmitting royal verification codes." "Confirm my identity and stand down." The Triumph immediately ceased fire, its captain's voice filled with relief. "Your Majesty confirmed. We've been fed false intelligence for weeks. Admiral Thrix claimed humans had invaded the capital sector. More ships began breaking away from the attack fleet as their captains received genuine verification codes. But Admiral Thrix's core group of conspirators continued their assault, determined to eliminate witnesses to their crimes. "Santos," Chen called out, "can you trace Thrix's command ship?" "The dreadnought Sovereign's Wrath, bearing 27 Mark IV. She's heavily shielded and carrying enough firepower to level a city." Zephyr's blood turned to ice. The Sovereign's Wrath was her own former flagship, equipped with enough weapons to destroy any ship in the human fleet. "Admiral Blackwood," the Queen said urgently, "that ship has quantum torpedoes. Your vessels need to maintain distance." "Understood." All human ships fall back to engagement range Delta. Use long-range precision weapons only. But Thrix had anticipated the tactic. The dreadnought launched a spread of quantum torpedoes that curved through space like guided death, their warheads capable of punching through any known shielding. "Incoming quantum spread," Santos reported. "Impact in 30 seconds. Captain Chen's jaw set with determination. "All power to forward shields. Brace for impact." The bridge shook violently as quantum explosions detonated against the Endeavor's shields. Warning lights flashed as power systems strained beyond their limits. "Shields down to 40%, reported the engineering officer. Zephyra watched the tactical display with growing despair. The human ships were magnificent, but they weren't designed to withstand Veltar quantum weapons. Her allies were dying because of her empire's corruption. "Your Majesty," General Vexor said quietly, "I can contact Admiral Corex. The loyal home fleet is only hours away." "Hours we don't have," Zephyra replied, watching another human cruiser take devastating damage from Veltar weapons. That's when Dr. Rodriguez's voice came over the ship's communication system. "Bridge, this is medical. The Veltar refugees are requesting permission to come to the bridge." "Absolutely not," Chen responded immediately. "This is a combat zone." "Captain," came Elder Korth's voice, dignified despite his obvious exhaustion, "we have something to contribute to this battle." Zephyr exchanged glances with Chen, then nodded. "Escort them up, Dr. Rodriguez." Minutes later, Elder Korth entered the bridge followed by 12 other refugees, including young Nira, the brave girl who had guided the rescue teams. "Your Majesty," Elder Korth said formally, "we know Admiral Thrix's command codes, and more importantly, we know how to broadcast the truth to his fleet." Nira stepped forward, her young voice carrying surprising strength. "My father was a communications engineer before the pirates killed him. He taught me how to override military channels for emergencies." The Queen knelt to the child's eye level. "Nira, what do you need?" "Access to your royal communication array. If I can broadcast our stories, what really happened at Kepler Colony, the loyal soldiers will understand." Chen looked skeptical. "A child's voice against military propaganda?" Elder Korth smiled sadly. "Captain, sometimes the most powerful truth comes from those too young to lie convincingly." As another quantum torpedo barrage shook the ship, Queen Zephyra made the decision that would define her reign. Give her access to everything. The galaxy was about to hear the truth from the mouth of a child, and Admiral Thrix was about to discover that lies have no defense against innocence. Young Nira's small fingers moved across the communication console with surprising expertise, her father's training evident in every precise keystroke. The bridge fell silent except for the distant rumble of weapons fire, as all eyes focused on the child who might save 2 civilizations. Broadcasting on all Royal Navy frequencies, Nira announced, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. This is Nira of Kepler Colony. I'm 8 years old, and I want to tell you what really happened to my family. Through the tactical display, Zafira watched as several Veltar ships ceased firing, their crews undoubtedly listening to an unexpected voice cutting through military communications. The pirates came while we were sleeping, Nira continued, her words carrying across space to ships locked in battle. They wore fake Veltar uniforms and used our own security codes to disable the defense grid. Governor Thex ran away while they hurt my friends. Admiral Thrix's voice crackled through the comm system. Ignore the human propaganda. Destroy the terrorist vessel. But Nira wasn't finished. Admiral Thrix, my father recorded your voice when you gave the pirates our planetary defense codes. The humans found his hidden recorder when they saved us from the mines. The accusation hit the fleet like a shockwave. On sensors, Zafira watched more ships breaking formation as their captains demanded confirmation of the child's claims. Captain Chen activated her holographic display, broadcasting the recorded evidence directly to the Veltar fleet. Admiral Threx's voice filled space, clearly coordinating with pirates to attack his own people. For the record, Thrix's recorded voice said, make sure no witnesses survive from the mining complex. The humans must appear responsible for total annihilation. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. 12 more Royal Navy ships immediately ceased fire and moved away from Thrix's formation, their captains broadcasting messages of loyalty to the Queen. Your Majesty, came Captain Morix's voice over the communication array, the Triumph requests permission to engage Admiral Thrix's remaining vessels. Granted, Zafira replied without hesitation. All loyal forces, you are authorized to use necessary force to stop the conspirators. What followed was swift and decisive. Caught between human precision weapons and Veltar ships fighting for their true queen, Admiral Thrix's remaining forces found themselves overwhelmed. Quantum torpedoes incoming from the Sovereign's wrath, Santos reported. Thrix is making a final run at our position. Captain Chen's hands flew over tactical controls. All human vessels focus fire on the Dreadnought's torpedo tubes. Don't let those warheads launch. The space around the enemy flagship erupted in coordinated fire from 3 species warships. Human ion cannons disabled shield generators, while loyal Veltar cruisers targeted weapon systems with surgical precision. But Admiral Thrix had one final desperate gambit. If I cannot rule, then no one will, his voice broadcast across all frequencies. I'm setting course for the capital world. Let's see how many civilians your mercy can protect. The Sovereign's wrath turned away from the battle, its massive engines driving toward the Veltar homeworld at maximum speed. At current velocity, the Dreadnought would reach population centers within minutes. He's going to ram the capital city, General Vexthor said in horror. 50 million civilians, Queen Zafira felt the weight of her entire species' survival pressing down on her shoulders. The Sovereign's wrath was too heavily armored to stop with conventional weapons, and any ship attempting to intercept would be destroyed by quantum torpedo point defense systems. Your Majesty, Admiral Blackwood said quietly, Earth Command has one option. We can evacuate your government and attempt to minimize casualties, but no. Zafira's voice cut through the bridge like a blade. I will not abandon my people. Captain Chen studied her tactical displays with growing determination. There might be another way. Your Majesty, does that Dreadnought still carry your personal royal quarters? Yes. Why? Then it still has your private communication array linked to the ship's main computer. If we can establish a connection, understanding dawned on the Queen's face. Remote access to ship systems. But the encryption codes changed daily. Young Nira looked up from her communication console. Your Majesty, my father taught me about royal encryption. The base codes never change, only the modulation patterns. If you can give me the base sequence... Zafira hesitated for only a moment before reciting numbers that had been passed down through royal generations. Nira's fingers danced across controls, her young mind processing complex encryption algorithms with startling speed. Got it, she announced triumphantly. I'm in their navigation system. Can you stop the ship? Chen asked urgently. No, but I can change its course. Nira's face scrunched in concentration, sending them toward the asteroid field in Sector 7. If they want to crash into something, let it be rocks instead of people. The tactical display showed the Sovereign's Wrath beginning to veer off course as its navigation system responded to external commands. Admiral Thrix's voice roared across communication frequencies. "What is this? Who dares?" "This is Nira," the 8-year-old replied calmly. "You killed my father, but he taught me enough to stop you." The dreadnought's course change became more pronounced as Nira locked in new coordinates. Instead of the capital city, Thrix's ship now headed directly for a dense asteroid field where it could cause no harm to innocent lives. "Admiral Thrix, Queens of Fyra broadcast on all frequencies. You are relieved of command. Surrender immediately and you will receive a fair trial." The response was a final volley of quantum torpedoes launched wildly in all directions, the last desperate act of a cornered traitor. But the torpedoes found only empty space and distant asteroids as their target vector had been completely altered. "The Sovereign's Wrath is entering the asteroid field," Santos reported. "Impact in 90 seconds. Through the viewscreen they watched as the massive dreadnought, once the pride of the Veltar fleet, careened helplessly toward its destruction, its crew undoubtedly trying desperately to regain control. "Your Majesty," came a transmission from the doomed ship. "This is Commander Helix, Thrix's executive officer. We're evacuating in escape pods." Admiral Thrix is dead took his own life rather than face capture. Relief flooded the bridge as dozens of escape pod signatures appeared on sensors, their occupants choosing life over loyalty to a traitor. The Sovereign's Wrath impacted the largest asteroid in spectacular silence, its hull cracking like an eggshell before secondary explosions consumed the wreckage. "All enemy vessels neutralized," Admiral Blackwood reported. "Remaining conspirator ships are surrendering or abandoning their positions." Queen Zephyra turned to young Nira, who sat quietly at the communication console, tears streaming down her small face. "Nira," the Queen said gently, "you saved 50 million people today. Your father would be proud." The child looked up with wise eyes that had seen too much. "I just wanted the hurting to stop." Captain Chen knelt beside Nira's chair. "It has stopped. Thanks to you and your father's teaching, and a brave queen who chose truth over prejudice." As rescue ships moved to collect escape pods and wounded vessels began limping toward repair stations, Queen Zephyra stood on the bridge of a human starship surrounded by the species she had once considered her greatest enemy. She thought of Lyra's death, of the crystal gardens where different kinds of beauty grew together, of a child's courage saving millions. "Captain Chen," the Queen said formally, "I believe our species have much to discuss about the future." Chen smiled, her hand resting protectively on Nira's shoulder. "Your Majesty, I think that conversation is long overdue." As the combined fleet began its journey home, Queen Zephyra realized that sometimes the greatest victories weren't won through conquest, but through the courage to admit when everything you believed was wrong. The Crystal Gardens had taught her well.